And welcome to Spacevidcast episode 6.06 for Saturday, February 23rd, 2013. My name is Benjamin Higginbotham. With me, as always, the beautiful, lovely, wonderful, and talented Carrie Ann Higginbotham. We've got a action-packed episode for you today. First, we're going to start with some space news, but then Google Lunar X-PRIZE is in the house. So they're actually going to be here on set telling us about all the Google Lunar X-Priziness that's been going on.
Yeah, I hope you can say that a little bit better once they get on.
The show will be interesting,
yes,
certainly.
Yes, it will be.
With that, let's go ahead and get started right away. Not that long ago, late last week, Orbital had a test fire of their Antares rocket. That is part of the COTS program, NASA, Commercial Orbital Transportation System.
Very good.
No acronyms. Actually, here, take a peek. This is the COTS test fire of the Antares rocket. I love the whoosh at the end, like at the very, very end. So, a lot of people know that SpaceX was part of COTS, and SpaceX is certainly the big name in all of that, and that's the one everyone thinks of. But Orbital did also win a contract.
Because it's shorter.
And that is the vehicle that the Antares vehicle, that's the vehicle that they're going to be sending up the International Space Station to also deliver cargo to the space station. So it wasn't just SpaceX that won the contract, it was also Orbital. And I think the really cool thing about this is that it proves that commercial companies can do this. SpaceX isn't just a one-off odd duckling that's able to do this. Now we've got two different companies capable of making this happen. So that was about a 30-second hot fire. That's basically where they light the engines up, they keep it clamped down on the pad, and off you go. And the Antares uses some old-school Russian ICBM engines, kind of refurbished to make that go. A little bit different than the SpaceX way of doing things, but that's the beautiful thing about commercial spaces. Each one can take a different approach to the same problem.
There you go. And then, my understanding is, in the next, I believe it's like 6 weeks, they're going to be doing a test flight from Wallops. So that's coming up.
Yep, and that was actually at Wallops as well. That was at the Wallops. Yeah, they were on their pad in Wallops going, boom, here we go. So that's where all of that happened. The International Space Station lost communication with the ground. I don't know if this is properly marked in there, Tim. It's actually like Hadfield Twitter or Hadfield something. So look for Hadfield. Yeah, go to that. This was hilarious. As they were troubleshooting the issue, Commander Hadfield from the International Space Station said, as they're going through the computers, that Capcom's name is HAL. The irony as life imitates art. But basically what had happened was they had done an upgrade to the main system computers on the space station, and things went slightly sideways.
Well, they were transitioning from the main to the backup, right? And they lost communication. It was like 9:30, 9:45 in the morning, and then didn't regain communication for about another 3 hours. I think it was like 12:34 p.m. EST, something along those lines. They were able to do some communication through the Russian ground stations, which was nice, so that every once in a while they'd be able to go, "We're still okay," and Houston would go, "This is what you need to do," and then everyone would keep moving. It's not quite that bad, but that's how I interpret ground stations in my mind.
It does bring up the complexity of space travel, though, right? Because imagine if they had totally lost communication completely, and they couldn't communicate with the ground at all. They're kind of they're on an island unto themselves.
They can't SOL, man.
They can't go outside for a breath of fresh air, right? These systems are critically important. Right. So, and in the end, it wasn't a huge deal. It was kind of hey, they did this, and while the communications were out, they went and did some experiments. So,
they actually got a lot of stuff done. NASA's like little thing is like, this guy did all of these things while they had no communication. This dude got all of this stuff done. It was like, wow, all right, cool. I guess there was no downtime on the ISS, man.
You know, if I was smart, I would have put this story next to the Antares story. But
well, you could.
SpaceX is actually scheduling a static fire test of the next Falcon 9 to go to the International Space Station coming up on this Monday, and that's for the March 1st mission to the International Space Station under the CTS-2 mission. They're going to be delivering additional cargo to the space station, and then one of the unique things that SpaceX can do that no other provider can do today is they're going to be downmassing, or taking a bunch of cargo from the space station and bringing it right back down to Earth with them. So that is all scheduled to come up basically this next week. So watch our Twitter account and certainly SpaceX's Twitter account for all of the updates regarding that, and that's going to be fun. I always like SpaceX launches. They look unique, and I work there, so I have to. I'm required.
Well,
that was how I got my little standard. That's how I slid in my standard. I'm biased mention is I work there, so I have to. This is an interesting one.
Speaking of going to the International Space Station,
or beyond.
How's that? Dennis Tito, the first what's the space traveler, space flight participant, I believe, right? In 2001, went up to the International Space Station.
That is a terrible screenshot of him, isn't it?
You know, he's not the most attractive man, okay? I don't know what to tell you.
We're only this far away from Mars.
But he is planning a flyby of Mars in 2018, which is the timing is really good because that's when the two orbits of Earth and Mars are closest together, so it's the shortest distance to get there. And the next time that's going to come around is the 2030s, sometime in there, which is good times. A lot of things earlier in the week made it sound like Dennis Tito's going to Mars.
Like putting humans on Mars.
Yes.
But we should say the announcement actually hasn't been made yet.
Right.
So there's just a lot of speculation. There's just talk of what we think they're going to announce.
Right.
Through his new company.
Right, which is the Inspiration Mars Foundation. And not much of course, is, like you said, is known about the Inspiration Mars Foundation.
Also IMF, which I believe is the Impossible Mission from the Mission Impossible. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah,
IMF?
I think so. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Everyone's shrugging. They have no idea.
Yeah, nobody
All
knows.
right.
Nobody cares. Okay, fine. But that's really interesting. And it is a flyby. Nobody's landing on Mars. And Dennis Tito himself, who's getting a little up there in age, is not going himself either.
We are just railing on Tito here, aren't we? Like, oh God, it's a terrible screenshot. What?
He's a brilliant man. He's made millions of dollars in investments. I mean, he's not... But, you know, he's no Captain Picard. Anyway, so those are the different things that's going on. The announcement is set for the 27th. We believe it'll be at the IEEE conference, is my understanding. And while the plans that have been leaked out to the media so far do kind of are a little heavy-handed in saying that it will be a modified SpaceX Dragon module, that does not necessarily say that SpaceX has said, yes, absolutely, please have a Dragon, or anything along those lines.
No one knows, right? It's all speculation at this point.
Right. It makes it sound like what they're doing is they're looking at all of the options that are out there right now. This is what they've presented to say, hey, this is a possibility that we might want to move forward with in 2018.
All right, why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to bring Leo and Nathan from the Google Lunar X-PRIZE. I almost said team, but that would be...
That's not right.
That doesn't work.
No.
Team Google Lunar X-PRIZE? That doesn't work either.
No.
We're going to bring them on the show, and we're going to get the status of all things GLXP. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about space food. In
Audio
the
clear?
early days of space exploration, food was mostly squeezed out of tubes and brought up in dehydrated packets. But today, we can have quite a variety of food. There's all sorts of things that we normally consume on Earth that we have here in space. We just need some minor adaptations. In the case of sandwiches, we had to substitute for bread. So we decided to use tortillas. But why? Mostly it's because bread, of course, makes crumbs. When you eat them on Earth, the crumbs fall down to the ground. But here, crumbs are just going to float away. On the other hand, the tortillas that we use are heat-treated and specially packaged in an oxygen-free environment to prevent mold from growing. They're packed in packages like this. And thanks to that process, a tortilla like this can be good for 18 months. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our tortilla. We're going to get our peanut butter, squirt it onto the tortilla, get our honey, squirt that on there, and we will have peanut butter honey sandwich in space. Open up the tortilla, and voila, a weightless tortilla. Okay, we got one tortilla. Whoa, got away. Take my peanut butter, open it up. Can't rip it. Fortunately, we have space scissors. They're attached by a tether so they don't go floating off. Take the scissors, cut open the peanut butter pouch. Peanut butter's open, squeeze it onto the tortilla, carefully. And now a little honey. Hey, I noticed something cool about the honey. Instead of the bubble sitting up at the top, because there's no gravity to make it float up, the bubble is floating in the middle. Okay, all closed up, and the envelope of peanut butter and honey is ready to eat. Not too bad. Last piece of my sandwich. It's been pretty delicious, but my hands are all sticky. Got to clean up. We don't have a sink. We don't have running water. Got to wash yourself up some other way. Disinfectant wipes. All cleaned up. Nice and hygienic on the space station. This goes in the trash. Lunch is over. Delicious.
Welcome back to Spacevidcast. We've got Leo and Nate from the Google Lunar X-PRIZE joining us today. Do you prefer, I should have asked before, Nate or Nathan, does it?
I don't care.
All right, sweet, because people always ask me and I don't care either.
Nathan P. Wong.
Yeah.
I call him by his full name.
P, you have to add the P.
Yeah.
Actually, that's your Twitter handle,
It is
isn't
my Twitter handle.
Yeah, when he
Yeah.
started GLXP, I was like, "Hey, you're Nathan P. Wong."
It's for anyone
what did I do
who
wrong?
for anyone who wants to find you on Twitter, it's Leo Zombie.
Yes, at Leo
because
Zombie.
because you like zombies.
Because Camacho was taken and I needed to comment on something, and Zombie was the first thing. I like zombies, you know.
So, what is the Google Lunar X-PRIZE for anyone who may not know?
Okay, so the Google Lunar X-PRIZE is an incentivized competition to inspire travel to the moon. So essentially, we have teams from around the world building robots in a race to be the first commercial landing, I guess, commercial rover landing on the moon.
Okay.
They have to complete a certain amount of predetermined tasks, and if they do that, then they can win prizes that are broken down by what they complete. So just landing and roving 500 meters.
Yeah, so the basic things that you need to do, you need to launch from the Earth, you need to land on the moon, you need to move 500 meters in a deliberate manner, either above, on, or below the lunar surface, and then broadcast back what is known as a mooncast, which is real-time video and audio sets from the
But
moon.
you don't have to build a launcher yourself. You
Correct.
just have to somehow, you can partner up with someone else like
Right.
Orbital, SpaceX,
Yep.
ULA,
Right.
launch. But that's expensive.
It is. So that's been a big challenge, obviously. As long as your rover is the one that completes the task, then your team wins. But getting there, landing is all up to whoever you can partner with, or if you can build it yourself.
And there's teams looking to partner on the landers as well.
As well,
so,
yeah.
So some of the teams aren't doing both the lander and the mobility vehicle. They're just working on their mobility vehicle, and they can maybe work with another team to get down to the lunar surface.
Right. So there's actually set plans to come in second place, because all you have to do is ride with another team. And,
Sure.
Two of the
on
teams
that
that we have are doing that are Omega Envoy out of Florida and Angelicum out of Chile.
Well, then let's talk about the monetary incentive to do that. You said, coming in second place. What are the different purses for doing the different things?
So the grand prize of the Google Lunar X-PRIZE is $20 million. The second place prize is $5 million. And then in addition to those prizes, we have bonus prizes, which should be completed after you've already done the mission requirements. And those are things like looking at Apollo sites, looking at different heritage sites,
finding water ice, on the moon.
water detection, surviving the lunar night, or roving
There's an additional
2 kilometers, I think.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And that's another bonus prize.
Right, and they're worth different amounts. So, but you can't complete all of them. You're only at, what is it, 4?
I could.
Yeah, personally.
Yeah,
I meant
personally.
that teams can't,
No,
but we
I-
can. We're thinking about it next week.
Yeah.
So if someone wanted to just bring a human up there and remote control a little RV car, would that still...
That would be more impressive than any prize money that we could possibly win. I don't even care.
You mentioned that the grand prize is $20 million, and
Yeah.
you can get more than that by getting some of these
The side prizes.
the side prizes
Yeah.
as well. What's the most someone could win?
The most someone could win is $25 million, which is
Okay.
$20 million for the grand prize, $4 million in bonus prizes, and then $1 million in the diversity award.
So $25 million. That sounds like a lot of money,
Yeah.
but in the world of space, not that much money.
No, you
So
don't
what's
even-
the incentive to actually create a team, put a bunch of people together, spend blood, sweat, and tears to make this go? What's the end game, I guess?
I guess. Well, I mean, the biggest prize of them all, I would say, is the platform. I mean, if you're the team that won the Google Lunar X-Prize, and anybody else is interested now with all the space mining being the hot topic, you're the team they're going to go to for technology. So you're just publicly displayed as a team that can do it. Wow, that nail is
Really, it's annoying. Yeah, we got to.
That caught me.
Yeah.
One of the main goals of the Google Lunar X-Prize is to create a sustainable lunar economy. So we want to make sure that these teams aren't doing this as a one-off stunt, that you can keep going back and there's more revenue streams that they can go into that make this a closed business model.
Right.
So you're trying to do for the moon what the Ansari X Prize did for suborbital space travel.
Right.
Is that a
Yeah.
The Ansari X Prize was won by Scaled, for those who don't know, won by Scaled Composites, and that's kind of where Virgin Galactic was born out of, essentially. And the timelines in space are much longer than we're used to for, say, an iPhone or an iPad, right? Where you're used to 1 year and you've got a new device. In space, it's measured in decades.
Right.
Speaking of timing, you have time limits on this as well.
Right. It has to be. They have to complete the task by the end of 2015.
Okay, so
Well, it was extended though. It was extended.
What was
because-
the original?
What was,
So the original plan was at the end of 2012. So the prize was announced in 2007. The prize purse was $20 million until 2012, which then it reduced down to $15 million.
Right.
And then everything had to be completed by 2014. And since then we've changed that, so
Yeah.
it's
Someone
a
said-
full prize until the end of 2015.
Someone along the way said, "Wait, landing on the moon is hard." Whoops.
We had this thing called an economic recession.
Yeah, those little snags.
So if they don't make it by 2015, right? 2015, the prize isn't gone. You just start lowering the
At the end of
purse.
2015, right now it's set up where the prize is done.
It's over.
Oh.
And then we go back and we analyze it and we say what we learned from it, type of thing. Which we're learning a lot, actually. A lot of the struggles are becoming very clear, and trying to approach sponsors has become an issue. So we've really started refining that process. How do you make commercial space attractive when you're just a small team?
Can you go into that? I mean, what are some of these struggles? Because there are other companies that may want to, maybe they're not part of Google Lunar X Prize, but maybe they want to do start their own space company. What are some of the struggles that these guys?
The biggest, there's just the whole question of why. It's just it's just a very difficult thing to define. We can't really narrow it down. You can't just give one reason why you want to go back to the moon, and so then that echoes back into marketing. So how do you market your team and make it attractive to a sponsor to spend money on you if you're not even, like you said, you're working on timelines of decades? Well, what's your return going to be on that if you're an investor? So people aren't just chomping at the bit to throw money at you so that you can not have anything for them for another 15 years. So that's become a really, really, really serious challenge. And also when you're working on the smaller scale, like some of these teams, they're very small, and they don't have the time to market themselves. They're busy working on their technology and also working somewhere else, probably in the space industry.
I mean, trying to get to the moon.
They're trying
plus
to get to the
trying
moon,
to fund it out of
and
their
they're
own
probably
pocket.
working at
And
another
they have to
company.
eat.
Yeah. Weird.
Food is really a drawback to space. I found out. Yeah,
If you didn't have to feed the people,
we'd be
it
fine.
would be-
We'd be
there.
to Mars already.
Oh, it's food. It's all
Right.
we'll blame food.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been a lot of challenges that people didn't expect, and but I think the biggest one is how do you put your face out there and make it seem important to people that otherwise wouldn't know about it.
How are the teams doing then? I don't think you're going to be able to actually say, hey, we think this team's going to win.
Right.
I wouldn't expect official representatives to say that, but can you say some teams are doing fairly well and we think that there are? I mean, can we get a status update as to where some of them are?
Well, I mean, I would say on different levels. I think some teams have longer term goals, especially in education. We have a lot of specifically, like our Floridian team and our Pennsylvania team and our Chilean team. They're very college friendly. Like they're trying to they're trying to get these programs installed in colleges so that they can produce more engineers and get more interest in space, so that in the future there will be more people to dump into the industry to get us to the moon much easier, but also build a legacy of their own. So that's one way that they are planning on kind of building this economy around it. But yeah.
And there's a lot of testing going on right now with the rovers. I think it was Stellar is testing their robot in the Moroccan desert at a simulation mission out there. A lot of people are testing their mobility vehicles.
Yeah.
Sort of right now is when we're looking at the tech being getting to the point
to that
where
point
we're,
of completion.
where we're
Yeah.
looking closer to
Yeah, White Label
someone winning
Space
the
just
prize.
announced their new rover design. That's the thing, they're finalizing. So this is a robot, this is what it's going to do. Now we got to figure out how to get it up there. We're getting to that stage where they're putting the period at the end of certain sentences, you know.
Sure.
So yeah, no, there's a lot of progression, and some teams are they've really jumped on the social media train, and that's generating some electricity for them, like part-time scientists. Hit over 150,000 followers. On
That's
Facebook.
interesting because you would think that some teams would want to keep it a secret in order to not let their designs get to
Right.
other teams, right?
Yeah.
Because it's you don't.
So
want-
that's been another struggle as well. Like there's things that you didn't anticipate, and you have to just kind of go with the flow. Yeah, so some teams are very secretive. We don't want you to know what's going on. Some have contracts with NASA that don't allow them to, because that's how they're funding their operation.
Sure.
Like Astrobotic and Moon Express as well. But other teams like part-time scientists say, hey, look, we're doing this awesome thing. You should be a part of this. And they've got NVIDIA, I believe, as a sponsor. They're just trying to make it really, really cool so that it can grow. I mean, it's become its own brand now. It's not, I mean, it is about landing on the moon and completing the prize. They're very serious about that. But now it's just kind of become its own thing. They have a comic book around the rover. So teams are finding other ways to kind of generate attention. It's cool, man. It's cool to see what they're coming up with.
So what's the someone wins? Let's say someone wins the prize.
Yeah.
Based on what they're building here, these aren't humans on the moon. These are rovers
Right,
on the
rovers.
moon. So where do you go next from there, right? So you've developed this technology. What do you use it for?
You just wrote something about this.
Yeah, so I think what a lot of teams are going to be doing is using basically that transportation system to the moon. We haven't landed on the moon successfully since 1973 with the Lunar 2. And so being able to upstart that infrastructure of landing on the moon, we're going to be able to do much more science on the moon, different things like that, where these teams are now going to be able to host payloads and put things down, and we're going to do better lunar and planetary science.
Right. And thinking even further down the line, let's say, now with the advent of, I mean, this is much further down the line. It's not immediate by any means, but, with the advent of like 3D printing and at, the rate that it's progressing, you put a 3D printer on the moon, data, it does, just beam data up to it. And then
we talked about that last week, actually. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You could actually, they have a system where you can 3D print using regolith.
Yeah. And then have the rovers, move it around.
Yeah.
That's feasible. I mean, sure, not in the next 5 or 10 years, but it can be done.
So you could actually use this in theory. I mean,
all
on paper, kind of in the sky. You could use the technology being developed now to do low cost relative to what we normally relative to space. Low cost rovers that go to the moon, successfully land, which in and of itself is extremely difficult, as you mentioned. We can crash into the moon easily. We've done that with El Cross recently, right? Yeah. Crashing into the moon.
Nate crashes into the moon like twice a week.
Boy, are my arms tired.
But landing on the moon much harder. So we can master that technology. Then we could actually send out the precursors to human settlement with 3D robotic printers, printing regolith moon bases, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Then all we do is send humans up, hopefully not crash on the moon, send humans up, and they've got their moon base ready to go, fully stocked with, no food or anything, but
it's there.
It's got
and
water,
we just go up there and seal the cracks, and then we're ready to go. It's cool that we can even talk about this now, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, 5 years ago, would that have been an option? No, probably not.
Oh, everyone thought you were crazy.
Yeah, and now it's like, hey, you can do that.
It is an interesting shift, and I think it's in part because of the Google Lunar X-PRIZE. That just turns into one word when I say it.
It is.
It's, Lunar
It's almost like you've been drinking too much. Like, I went with the Google Lunar X-PRIZE.
Well, it's better than the Northrop Grumman Lunar Lander X-PRIZE Challenge or whatever that one was. But it's cool that we can do that. I think in no small part because of the X-Prizes. Not just the Google Lunar X-Prize, but the Ansari X-Prize, the Northrop Grumman Lunar Lander X-Prize Challenge, I think is what that one is.
Right.
And now, of course, this one... we're talking about not just going to the moon, but asteroid mining as well.
Yeah,
right. I mean, we're talking about some things that would be considered science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, even our
decade
CEO
ago.
just started a company. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that's the way things are going now, and everybody's jumping aboard in that bandwagon too.
Yep.
It's like, hey, let's go mine stuff in space. Let's go become trillionaires.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. It's just
like
that easy.
Hurry
Let's
up
go.
and finish the
Let's
Google
grab some
Lunar
space.
X-Prize.
We gotta grab some space rocks.
Yeah, and it's funny going back to what you're saying about the prize money. It's not that much compared to what they actually spent. I mean, you win $25 million and it costs you $100 million to get up there. It's not that much, but it's enough to excite people to start a team and get proactive about kind of
Yeah,
approaching
it's
this
that
whole
seed,
thing.
it's that catalyst that
It's
sort
like-
of starts to get the industry going.
Yeah, you get 25% of your what you spent back, but you also get international attention. You get this global audience that you're showing them, hey, look what we can do.
I think, yeah, if you look at Ansari was a $10 million prize, and I think the rough estimates of the development of Spaceship One and White Knight, and that was about $30 million. And so the prize was lower than the cost to develop it, but it was that seed, it was that kickstart that
Right.
got everything going.
Yeah.
And then they
even
sold all that to Virgin Group.
Right.
Yeah.
And even if you don't win, I'm sure you. I mean, if you're a team competing in this, you've probably developed something that's useful, and you're going to become a vendor, and you're still going to be a pioneer on the forefront of that lunar economy. So everybody kind of ends up being a winner as long as you're an active participant and you're actually developing things. Someone's probably going to buy your tech and use it. So it's kind of cool.
I've got 2 more questions before we
Yeah.
go. One for each of you. What excites you most about the Google Lunar X-Prize?
It's boring. I don't care. Man, I don't know. Well, for me, I was just kind of before I worked for GLXP, I was like a casual space fan. The Neil deGrasse Tyson and the Bill Nye and the YouTube videos whenever I could find anything, billions and billions, that kind of stuff.
Spacevidcast. Yeah, yes, you said space. Yeah.
Is that, okay, that was the first one I said.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Well played.
Thanks.
Well played.
Very casual, and it was one of those things that started inspiring me. I was like, man, this is crazy. Like the numbers alone of thinking about space, like your brain just can't handle it. And then, but I don't have any formal space training or anything like that, and yet there was still an avenue to come in, in GLXP, and now I'm finding that it's all over the place. I mean, every company, everybody in this industry has holes for every possible set of talents, right? So, as an artist, traditionally, that's and social media, finding that niche and coming in and filling it, and then being part of this thing that had recently been introduced to my life, and being able to say I'm contributing to history, it's exciting. It's really cool to know that when we commercially go to space, I will be one of the people to help make that happen. I mean, that's a small part, but I was still there. It's just awesome. That's exciting to me. And I get to hang out with people that did it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I come from a little bit different background than Leo. I've been studying space since my undergraduate. And for my generation, Ansari was like a really big deal. And so you're following that, and that's sort of the kickstart and the beginning of commercial space. And so always while you're studying, you're like, oh yeah, that was such an awesome thing. And now to come in here and work for the organization that did that and work on a very similar project in terms of the scope and starting something new, it's really nice to be able to say, oh, I remember where I was when this happened, and now I'm making this other thing happen.
Yeah. Via that last thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So where can people go? You can't create any more teams. That part's
Right,
closed.
right.
So, but where can people go for more information on the Google Lunar X-Prize, or if they want to support their nearest team, or how can people help and support, and where can we send them?
Well, I mean, there's always our website, www.googlelunarxprize.org.
The www is required. You
It's
have
W.
to say that.
You
Yeah,
have
it's
to
dubs.
do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll be like,
Otherwise, you go to the non-World Wide Web.
that's right. You go to the
You go to the US
You go to
web.
the intraweb. So obviously there's that. There's our Twitter, which is @GLXP. From there, I retweet what other teams are saying, and but from the website and from our Twitter, you can find lists that have all the other teams listed. You can find their private websites. Their team pages on our website will link you to their stuff if you have a favorite and you want to follow along.
We have our Facebook page. And
page.
then every Tuesday we put out a thing called the Lunar Roundup, which is the top 5 stories of what's happening with the teams
And
each
notable
week.
mentions, yeah.
So
And it's really, and that's, it's cool because a lot of our community has become active. So, if we see somebody doing something great, we highlight it and, we throw it in there as well. So I would say the website's probably the best way.
Yeah.
And you can find links to our Twitter and our Facebook at the bottom. So that's the centralized location.
Can people still help teams though? I mean,
Yeah.
the teams are set.
Teams
but
are
if you want to get involved and you want to be a part of a team, you can still join a team,
Yeah.
assuming the team will have you.
Yeah, teams
Yeah.
are putting
So
out
no
calls
team
all
will
the
have
time.
me,
No,
but
you're
I
out.
mean, yeah, I'm
you're
out.
no good, but there are people that are useful. So no, they're putting out calls all the time, and they're always looking for people.
Yeah.
If you can contribute. I mean, there are specific teams that we have like every day because I deal with their web interface, and they're sending new members to me all the time. So it's not out of the question at all.
That's awesome. All right, stick around. We're gonna do our last. We'll bring Carrie Ann back for that part, and we'll.
you're not carrying it?
Wait, what?
Secrets out.
We're going to do viewer comments up next, but stick around. We want to bring you back for After Dark. We've got a surprise for everyone. It's going to be a lot of fun for truly everyone. I don't think anyone knows what I have up my sleeve. So stay tuned. We're going to take one more quick break. When we come back, viewer comments.
Look into her face, determination in her eyes. She won't give up or quit or fall for little fashion lies. Filled with awesome expectation, this girl's a fascination. And nothing in her way will keep her from her destination. Cause she's fire walking, she's fire walking. When it's hot, she keeps on moving. Through the heat, keeps on improving. Yeah, she's fire walking, she's fire walking to be free.
And we are back, and so is Carrie Ann.
Hi.
All right, let's take a look at viewer comments from last week's show. You can, of course, leave your comments on our YouTube page, our Google Plus page, our website. We prefer the website because it means that you know and love us, right on spacevidcast.com. This one comes from Limited Wick, I believe it is, and it says, well, the majority of space organizers are not worldwide, and this is in regards to should private entities take care of pushing asteroids or meteors out of our way,
Right.
Or should the governments do it? He said, majority of space organizations are not worldwide, so in turn, shouldn't countries around the world agree to a national space defense program? On paper, that sounds amazing.
We've talked about this a couple of times. Just the sheer intolerance I think some governments have for other governments. I think there's a trust level.
There's a culture clash, I think, is what it really comes down to, right? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And you'd think with something
Yeah.
like defending the entire species, we could get around that. The optimist in me would like to think that that's true too. I fear that politics will get in the way and it will turn into something that it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So in an idealistic Star Trek world, yes, that would work great. In the world in which we live today, I'm not sure.
I mean, there's entire nations that are not allowed to go to the International Space Station. They're not allowed.
I have Total Ghost stuck in my head as soon as you did that.
We don't like them. We don't trust them. Whatever the case is, so I think when some people hear International Space Station, they think, oh, it's Earth 2. Right?
I think they think...
like anybody can go. It's cool. Total Ghost can just arrive at the, knock on the door. Everything's cool. And that's not the way that it is. Time and time again, we've heard stories about the United States side toilet has gone out. And now they need to ask permission to get over to the Russian side to use their toilet. They have to ask permission. I mean, it's kind of, what we think down here is a little bit crazy. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the viewpoint that we're coming from. It's not to say that will never happen or that it can't happen, but right now, as it stands, the probability of that happening, it's about this itty bitty. So.
Floating up in the air. All right. Next question is, what kind of shelter would resist a large asteroid impact? Because if it's possible for a shelter to resist, then we must let people face their responsibilities and decide to build one with their own money if they want. Governments do not have to be involved. And that's from something I cannot pronounce. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that screen name. You can read it on your screen right there. Yeah, sure, whatever.
All right.
It depends. It totally depends on the impact. So if you've got a meteorite that basically is the size of the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, understand that it didn't hit the entire planet. It hit one swath of the planet, and what it then did is threw ash and dust and debris up in the air, which stayed there for such a long time that light couldn't penetrate enough to let plants survive, so all the animals died. So that was an extinction event. A shelter will help you possibly, if you're far enough away, prevent the blast, right? You can survive the blast.
Yeah.
But where you'll get food from...
Right.
How you'll survive that beyond that. Now, if you were directly underneath the meteorite when it hits... I can't imagine a shelter capable of, that could blow entire mountains off.
Yeah, but
right?
again, if you're talking about the kind of impact that Russia had last week.
Yeah.
Right?
I think...
then don't live in a glass house.
Don't live in a glass...
There you go.
A bit bigger than...
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But right? I mean, that's what a lot of the damage was. It was
most of the damage was flying glass,
Glass was breaking,
yes.
right? And glass was hurting people. I mean, that's kind of...
That's because there was a giant sonic wave that blew out windows.
Right, but that's my point. That's my point. It's everywhere between... you can't get away to don't live in a glass house.
They're saying that you have to just stock up on spam in the chat room. The chat room seems to think spam is the solution to everything.
MREs and Twinkies.
Would you actually, so let's just say you built a shelter and you stocked it with spam. Would you want to live in said shelter?
No, it's going to become Matrix style, where they're just like
oh,
bloopy
man.
stuff. That's
No.
what it would be.
No.
Would be terrible.
The real thing, the amount of devastation that a meteorite can create is, true use of the word astronomical. I think that's a right.
Very good.
And the best solution is for us to two things we need to do concurrently. Neither one is better than the other. The best solutions are, one, make humanity a multiplanetary species. So get off of Earth. If something happens to this planet, we've got a backup. You do it with your files on your computer, hopefully. Why don't we do it with our entire human species? The second thing is mitigation. So finding a way to push those asteroids away so that it doesn't destroy our home planet. We like it here. It's a pretty planet. It's a lot more hospitable than Mars or anything that we've really found right now. So let's keep it nice and pretty. And to do that, let's not let the big, huge rocks hit it. Wow, that was kind of condescending, wasn't it? A little bit. All right. Next one. That little Russian meteorite completely stole the show on the 15th. The big star should have been the asteroid, but the Russian meteor decided to have a party on its own. Forgot about the asteroid because of the videos. The video, and that's from Macrazon. That was true. Actually, the show should have been what was it? DA-14, I think it was. Yeah, it was epic. It was really, really close to Earth, and instead we had this Russian.
Blowout. It was like a teeny tiny little psh, comparatively.
And it totally stole the entire show.
Well, yeah, because we have really great videos of that.
The videos were amazing, and
you have to admit
I'm happy that we caught it on film, right?
Yeah. But you do kind of have to admit that something that didn't hit us at all is almost not nearly as interesting as something that did actually kind of come in contact with us.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it is cool of like, this cool thing over here could have killed us, but it didn't. But this thing that really only hurt people with flying glass did, you know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
There's both sides of the story, but yeah, one had fantastic video, and we are a video show.
And the other one had terrible video, actually. If you look at the radio video, the radio stuff, it's like 5 pixels across. It's really cool, by the way. You should search YouTube for the radio video of the asteroid. It's epic. It's really cool, but it's really low resolution as opposed to the really high resolution entry video that we had from all those
dash
cars.
cams.
And finally, this comes from Chris. I love videos. I do too. That's what we have in video.
Yay!
Yay, videos.
Oh, we like Chris.
I'm going to school for aerospace engineering, and I generally one word. You might want to. I love your updates about asteroid mining, hoping to work in that field when you graduate. Well, with the help of, I'm going to watch this going full circle, with teams like Google Lunar X-PRIZE, and of course things like what Peter Diamandis is working on, planetary resources.
Yes.
You may actually be able to do that someday soon. Right, I think within...
You too could be an asteroid miner.
You too could mine asteroids. And the neat thing about that actually is, I think Leo mentioned this, it's going to open up not just people who need to go out, not just for the robots going into space, but I think we're going to see more humans going into space, because humans can do so much more than robots. And when humans go into space, now you need cooks, you need waste management, you need... plumbers, you need baristas apparently. Apparently you have to have coffee in space, it's required.
Yes.
I guess. I mean, that makes sense. You need a whole swath of support team to go, if you're going to do it right, to go with them. Not just 6 people floating in a tin can around the Earth, but actually an entire civilization floating in a tin can going around the Earth. Well, or Mars, or wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
All right, that's our show for this week. I'd like to thank everyone so much for joining us. If you're watching live, stick around. Spacevidcast After Dark is up next. We've got some fun surprises for you there. We're going to bring the GLXP boys back on for After Dark. I should have paid attention to the tally light. Okay. And if you'd like to watch After Dark after the fact, if you're watching this on demand, you can sign up for Spacevidcast Epic. Spacevidcast Epic as well helps us pay for the show and keep it going. And that's available at www, which is required, spacevidcast.com/epic. Starts as low as $8.33 per month. if you buy it a year in advance, which is $100 a year or $10 per month. I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching, and have a great week. Go ahead and fade to black.